There are 3 major things that you're doing wrong when you're using reference. 1, you're not focusing on the right spots of the photo reference. 2, this is a big one, you're not getting into character. That's why we do reference. And the 3rd one, lastly, you are not referencing major, like top tier artists. Right, I'm gonna actually be using your art from the last reference challenge to kind of explain these key points that I'm talking about. It's just 3 ones, just 3 really simple little key points here. But first, I want you to check this out. All right, the nice fellas that they are at XP Pen, they sent me the Artist 12 Pro. That's what I'm going to be using in this video to break down some of these references. I've got a video in the works reviewing this tablet. This isn't the actual review though, because I was working on my Cintiq and it died. So luckily I actually had this. XP Pen saved me here. All right, I've already been using this thing for a little bit, but I can already tell you I'm a lot better of an artist because of using the XP Pen. Absolutely. All right, guys, let's go. Alright, if you watched my videos before, and if you know the challenge that I just did, I always say reference good artists. This is so important that so many people don't do. You don't know how to create something on a professional level if you have never seen something on a professional level, especially if you've never even broken something down that's on a professional level. Step 1, find professional artists that you love. That's a really good point too. You have to enjoy their art. You can't just follow these people because I say so. I mean, you should, because they're really good, but alright, first off, we're going to be taking a look at Christie's work. Okay, I personally learned from Christie when I worked on Voltron with her. She was the lead character designer in the studio, and she's so... This is one of her images that I looked at for so long. Pretty much every morning for about 2 years, I broke these images down. I would come in here, and the point of this is to see what she's emphasizing, what's important. Okay, is she coming in here and drawing this big bump right here for the big muscle and whatever? No, she's coming in here and doing the most simple, basic shapes because she's trying to find the clarity. Where is this character turning in space? That's what we need to know. Okay, and this is one of the major things I see wrong in the submissions, which, by the way, I love the submissions. You guys are actually doing some really good breakdowns, but there's some things that are going wrong that I need to kind of point out here. Majorly, why am I looking at Christie's stuff? She draws some crazy angles here. Look at this. Okay, all I need to do is look at these angles and see what she's emphasizing, the proportions of how big this head is compared to, you know, this foot and how far away it is and all that stuff. This is something that you need to go out of your way, put in a little bit of time. Don't come whining about how you're not good at art. You need to put in the time. I can't force you to do this. Okay, I can't snap my fingers and suddenly you're a good artist. You need to put in the time to, all right, whatever. All right, and the second person is Mr. Chrysler. All right, this guy knows what he's doing. I'm gonna be looking at his stuff to understand his simplicity and his proportions. All right, that's another thing I see wrong in submissions and students' work is they don't really understand the proportions. You can learn proportions through studying real life, through figure drawing and whatnot, but you really blast it whenever you study other artists that have already gone through all of that pain and struggle. And so now you can kind of see where they put their emphasis. So I'm going to take a character from Christie and I'm going to take a character from CT Chrysler. This is how it looks. This is how I'm going to set up my reference sheet, all right? So step 1, get this down. And every morning for 2 years, you wake up at 6 o'clock a.m. and you go sit down with this template and then you do some photo breakdowns with your 2 very simple character sheets to look at. Okay, step 1, you're referencing really good artists. Step 2, you have to learn how to get into character. This is one of my favorites right here of somebody getting into character. I think this is the brother of the person that did the art. But this kid, and it makes sense because he's like a kid, you know, he understands how to get into character, he understands how to pretend, which is perfect. That is exactly what we want. I can't stress how important this is to get into character. Otherwise, the reference, it doesn't mean anything unless you're just trying to figure out, you know, what muscle does what. If you're posing for a shot, if you're posing for like a character design, it is so important to get the nuances of the pose. This kid is doing it. I feel like this kid's doing perfect. All right, but I do want to point out something else that I'll kind of hit up throughout the video, is that when you're taking reference, you need to make sure the reference that you're taking has good design to it. So what do I mean by that? All right, you got his arm here. That's really cool. Got his hand. But then right here, his foot is coming into the hand design and it's not creating, okay, the silhouette is not clear. Now this is tough. I know this is tough because you're taking reference and you're not thinking about this type of stuff. But sometimes you need to get the shot just right for things to read clearly. That's the silhouette that it's making. His arm is stuck within that silhouette and you want to break that. I mean, it's still a really cool pose. Don't get me wrong, but maybe if the camera were more over here, maybe his hand would have been coming off to the other side of his knee. All right, here's a similar post. All right, this guy's got the acting down. He's already taken the reference shot. All right, like I said, referencing real life does not make it a good design. All right, so we got a good example of that. Right here, his arm is hyper-extending. Okay, naturally, his arm can do that. Maybe it wasn't actually hyper-extending. Maybe the camera was in a weird position. There's a whole number of things that could be going on. The fact is, the photo isn't good to reference. So make sure that your reference is clear. All right, otherwise, really good drawing on that one. Okay, great art, great pose, but by far, this definitely gets the most self-aware award, though the pose is a bit stiff. Already calling it out, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Your poses will end up like this if you're not, if you don't have a mindset for the character. Here's what I actually want you to be doing, is what this person did. They took a video, I'm assuming they took a video, scrolled through and found the pose that this person wants. This is so much more important than taking a still photograph of yourself. Taking still photographs, you're like, okay, the picture's about to be taken, and then you stop. That's when becoming fake starts, and that's when acting natural ends. I should have said this from the beginning. When taking reference, you should film yourself doing an action. You can find the best reference when you're actually doing something. So you get in that mindset, you think, you think, my character hates XP pen. And if my character had this knife right now, their shoulders would be a certain way, their head would be pulled down. If you really try to get in that mindset, take a video of yourself, the way that your face would, XP pen destroyed my family, XP pen destroyed my dog, and then you just get in that mindset, and you know, the way you pull back and come down on it, the way you swing it, you just, you know, you can really get into it, maybe get a little bit of emotional, maybe start crying, you just feel how you react. Okay, that's extremely important, and when you do that, you're gonna be scrolling through and you'll be able to see when your mind switches. This is what should be able to separate your work from everybody else's work. Nobody's going to react to the same thing in the exact same way. That's going to get the nuances of you. That's going to be able to show you through your work and how you act. So if you want to separate yourself from the crowd, from everybody else, you need to reference how you act, how you interact, how you react. Okay, here's another cool thing. If you take two reference actually, one is of the pose that you really like, and then you scroll through and find the pose that you didn't like, that you felt was stiff, that you felt was, it just didn't feel natural or something. Then you compare those two and break it down and say, why do I like this one better? Maybe my head's actually down. That's what makes it feel more natural. If my head is lower, or if my arm is raised higher, you'll start to pick and choose what actually makes it feel more natural. Because when you pose, you know, you may be doing this. Oh, I'm swinging. But if you actually get into the character, you compare the second photograph, you're like, oh my God, I'm swinging. So, this guy's got the camera above him, the proportions are looking pretty good, but it's the acting. I really like the acting. So, really good acting on that one. Awesome job there. Okay, the winner for the best armbar definitely goes to Ghost. I see Ghost in my comment section all the time. Thank you, Ghost. Really cool submission. Okay, this person's also really getting into character. I really love this shot. He's actually layering the characters, trying to make a scene. Now see, he's gonna get some really authentic body language here because he's interacting to a very specific environment of what's going on. So there's a story here. There's a reason for these characters to be acting a very specific way. Very, very good. Very well done. All right, if I did have one note on this though, it's to learn a little bit about composition and about big, medium, small. All right, I talk about big, medium, small in a lot of my other videos, so you can go check that out. But just a quick note on this one. If you really try to blast out these proportions of these characters, you know, the characters are fine themselves, but if you take them and put them more in the foreground, middle ground, and then background, it really helps to sell the depth of the image. Not everything always has to be on the screen. All right, and as you draw more and more, you'll realize, like, just because I drew this thing, it doesn't mean that it has to be on the screen all the time. All right, and did I learn all this by myself? No. Did I really have a teacher teach it to me? Not so much. What I actually did was spend hours and hours and hours breaking down and looking at Simon Stellenhag's work. This guy is composition, he is storytelling, he is cinematography, photography, character design, mood. This guy is perfect for every single thing that I've ever needed. in my freaking life. This is another really good example of good acting because, I mean, he is in the moment. Somebody else took this picture, so he is posing the way that he would pose naturally. And it comes through his drawing, through his design. I can see the way that he's raising his shoulder and his expression. Everything here feels authentic to me. It's exactly what I'm looking for. This is the winner for best shapes because I feel like his shapes and his design were so clear. Awesome job, dude. Really cool stuff. All right, now that you know how to do your acting a little bit, now we're going to be getting into probably the most important thing when doing reference or like using your own photo reference or reference from other people. You need to understand where to put the emphasis. Again, this all revolves around just because it's real life, just because the camera took the picture, does not mean it's good design. All right, so let's go into that a little bit.